Today I'll be reviewing Dead as Disco. It's a hack and slash rhythm game that has you beat opponents like in Devil May Cry or Bayonetta, but if you do it on beat, you get extra points. Sounds fun, right? I know it too. I have a weak spot for rhythm games, so when this came across my screens, I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna try this. I have three major points that I would like to talk about, and I have ranked them in order of effort. So the first one is low effort, high impact, and then it goes down with a little bit more efforts along the way. So the first thing that I'm going to start with is readability challenges. Firstly, the game I think does amazingly well with the art decisions, the punk rock theme, neon colors, changing of the color scheme mid brawl, mid match was amazing, well received. So kudos to that. However, because there are a lot of these neon things on screen, my eyes are not trained or not guided well enough to understand what is more important and what is less important. Best example that I could come up with is the pause screen. The pause screen has this bright pinkish color in the background and a white color control scheme that is laid out as a wall of text. Although I'm a big fan of providing easier of access, especially with control schemes, I don't want to click like three buttons to go to a menu to read the control scheme. So I appreciate that this is available right as I hit pause. However, the readability of white text on a light color background is a bit difficult. I had a little bit of a strain while I was trying to read through this text, and this kind of was a discouraging experience. So I would like to change background to be either a blur background of the game screen or another darker color so that these things are highlighted well enough. The second thing that the readability can be improved on is highlighting of key terms and words. The dialogue in this game is super flavorful.
So, dead, alone, and broke. Am I missing anything?
Oh, yeah, just a proper introduction. I am Vice, here to make sure the contract is upheld to the letter.
But because it relies heavily on the context, in the demo, there were a lot of dialogues or instances that I did not really capture what the story was going for or coming from. For instance, in the very beginning, the old skull says, you died and person Hemlock had sold your master record. And it immediately sort of disturbed me. Like, should I worry more about of me being dead? Or should I think about the master record? So this is where the clash happens. I would like how Celeste has colors for different texts. So Madeline is in orange, I think. Oshiru is in green. So characters have their own colors, and some terms have an animation to it. So I would appreciate if something more highlighting is part of this experience. In number two is the game juice. Dead as Disco relies heavily on the game juice. So game juice is vital in a hack and slash game where players get a lot of feedback from the game screen. However, being hit is one of the ways players take damage. One of the more easiest way to do this is by adding a red vignette so that it reinforces the player is low on health or the players just got hit. Right now, the lack of hit feedback, especially for the player, made me feel careless, and I was concentrated looking at the center of my screen who is coming in closer to me and less worried about the top left corner health bar that is available. The meter itself is not very player friendly, especially in a beat friendly game, because the reduction of the circle is not in tune with the beats. I feel that I was always miss hitting or miss countering a lot of these times because the beat that I am perceiving or I am seeing on screen does not match with the beat that the counter is expecting me to do. So most of the time the counter is between beats. So beat, 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 and the counter is somewhere in the middle, which is sort of like a letdown. I feel like the game could improve. So here's the idea. I would like to take inspiration from the stamina bar in Legend of Zelda or Mario. Instead of reducing the circle continuously and hoping the player hits on the beat, I want the circle to reduce on beat. So big, small, small. Fourth beat is the counter attack. So when the timing of counter and dodge is per the beat, person will understand how far they are from clicking those buttons just by looking at the icon. The second thing that the game can improve on is the neon color scheme, especially for counter and dodging, because enemies are coming from all directions. Sometimes the enemy comes from the right, from the left. I feel it is really hard to decipher whether something is to be right clicked to counter or hit space to dodge. The button is not distinguishable, especially at pace. So I would like a different highlight or a different icon for counter, for space, and for E as well. This way, I think it will reduce the impact of trying to decipher and look closely, and sort of take a lean back approach and understand just at a glance whether something is to be dodged, countered, or killed. Number 3, the music pitch. A rhythmic game, the hero of the game is the music. I appreciate that there are licensed music that I am looking forward to play for. One thing that game really does well is matching the enemy waves to the BPM of the music. So if you play something that has a faster BPM, you'll likely have more enemies per wave. However, right now there is a limited amount of connection between what the player is doing versus how the music is reacting. Feels like there's a background music playing and I want to beat match to it. So I would like to see the game music react to it. If I successfully dodge, right, the game slows down. I want the music and the beats to slow down so I can land attacks just like Bayonetta does. And similarly, if I successfully counter, I want a lot more guitar, a lot more strums, a lot more bass to it so that it reinforces that I have done something cool. Right now, the right side of the screen with the scoreboard, with the score ring, is less viewed by the player. So I miss the impact of landing something cool. Me punching versus me landing a perfect counter is basically indistinguishable in this fast paced game. I want a little bit more oomph to successful counters and successful dodges. And those are my thoughts. I highly encourage you to go ahead and play Dead as Disco on Steam. The link will be in the description. It's free to play. And tell me what you think. Did you also have similar thoughts or were there more things?